Martin, welcome to the show and the roast for John Levine. Absolutely. So the first very important person is Jason Driscoll. Give him a big hand, please.
Good evening, everyone. I first would like to thank Betsy and the Event Solutions folks, Deb Kelly and her fund committee, as well as the Vinoy for putting on such a great event tonight. The next person that I would like to point out is John's mom, but I think she's getting food somewhere. So, is she around? Where is she? Anyway, so I met Judy, Miss Levine, a few nights ago. She's an absolutely pleasant old woman, but she really needs a lot of our prayer. Despite the fact that John is turning 50 later this year, he acts more like he's 5, as we all know. So whether he's actually, having her watch his dog, or, the little boy needs a haircut and she has to take him to her beautician to get the haircut, right? There she is. Round of applause. Welcome to the party. But John needs a lot of help. The interesting thing is that I didn't get to have a chance to ask her the other night when I did meet her, as far as what exactly did she do to him when she was young, when he was young. It's one of those things where he is the only person to ever grow up absolutely terrified of ironing his clothes. Seeing him, he never ironed, and so seeing him with clothes that more wrinkled than a bulldog's face has got to make you very proud, right? I guess I forgot to mention one announcement. Later, after this whole thing is over with, we're going to be taking a love offering up for John to deal with the emotional trauma that some of these other folks will probably be bringing to his head to bear. We got a really good deal, so it's one of those things where all we really need for you guys to do and put in the bucket is a $1 bill each, if you don't mind. We got a really good deal for a therapist that charges us only by the minute. We all know that John, because of his ADD, can't last for a whole hour, so you might as well just pay for the minutes. On a serious note, speaking of trauma, this is serious. John had some health issues earlier this year, and we almost lost John. And not to try to dampen the spirit, but it's one of those things where I'm very, very happy that he's sitting here with us versus having that ugly picture that he likes to put on his LinkedIn page and everything else. It's quite heavily doctored if you look at it closely. Did you do that yourself, or did you pay somebody to do that? Okay, all right, good. I'm glad we got that clear.
She said it was a nice picture.
Okay. Again, John had some health issues tonight, this few weeks ago, and he's now very confused as to what he should do with his files at work. He gets very confused as to whether he should save them in a repository or a suppository. John, just stick it in your suppository, okay? For the rest of us, that sort of gives a whole new meaning to actually filing something and losing it in a black hole, right? John continues to say he's humbled by all of this. I'm not so sure about that. I think he loves the attention way too much. But what I do know is John loves this chapter. He loves the people. He truly is a great friend, and I appreciate everything. So here's to El Presidente Levine.
A little toast. Ready? Here's to all the virgins. Thanks for nothing. We got another roaster, Mr. Justin Wright. Justin Wright, come on up. There he is.
I'd just like to start by saying that I am emotional trauma for John, so your dollar bills will be appreciated. It's really an honor and a privilege to have flown in from New York to join you all for this roast of your newly elected HFMA president, John Levine. Let's give it up for John. Come on, let's hear it. Yeah, that would be great. Really great. Let's feed his ego a little bit more. In talking with John a few days ago, he was telling me how humbled he is by this opportunity. Throwing your own roast, flying people in from around the country to do 2 minutes of shtick, followed by heaping praise and adoration. Very humble, very humble. Humble John Levine. Yeah, John's humility is right up there with Jesus Christ, Mahatma Gandhi, and Donald Trump. I knew this crowd would love the Donald Trump thing. I mean, I'm surprised we're doing this in St. Pete, not Mar-a-Lago, right? It seems that John's vocabulary is as good as his spelling. If you received an email from John, you can attest to the need for one of those secret decoder rings to try to put something that resembles a sentence in the English language. But John gets very sensitive about this topic. Very sensitive. You can ask Eric Christ from PP. In fact, he gets so sensitive about it that I have to watch my back up here because I don't want Judy Levine, John's mommy, to Will Smith me. Judy, there is no delay on the video and I will press charges. You know, this roast is like one of those bad after-school specials they used to see on ABC. Bullied and babied mama's boy from New York overcomes adversity by turning the teasing and taunting into an opportunity for adoration while reaching the pinnacle of his professional career, president of HFMA. John, you're really killing it. This is the night for you. Finally, the spotlight is on you, baby. In fact, when John asked me to do this, my first thought was, wow, I really hope they're taping this. Finally, I'll have an opportunity to be the social media influencer I had always dreamed of becoming. Hashtag influencer, hashtag leadership, hashtag John Levine, hashtag John Levine, hashtag John Levine. Yeah, I'm sure I'll have an excess of 1,000 new followers tonight, and maybe even some of you ladies in the room will be sliding up into my DM. Thanks, John. Humble John. Humble John. So let's get right to the heart of the matter. Is there anyone in the audience who has or is doing business with John? Raise your hands. I think we have some on the dais here doing a little bit of business with John. Excellent. You've trusted millions of dollars receivable to a guy with a hospitality degree that can't write and clearly has vocabulary challenges. Nice work. Good job. And it gets even better, because if your governor keeps messing with Mickey Mouse, John's degree is not going to be worth the paper that it's written on. Speaking of which, if you don't know, now you know, John used to work on cruise ships and resorts as a scuba instructor. I thought it might be helpful to bring out some of John's tools of the trade so we can all celebrate John's life achievements, right? While we have him up here being all humble John. So let's get some gear on him really quick. This will only take a second, but it's worth the optics. Can you cue the music, please? Will the real Slim Shady please stand up? Please stand up. Stay right down there, John. Stay right down there. You can stand. Oh, but it's better. It's better. Not only was John a scuba instructor, but also participated in the resort dance performances. So this is the part of the night where we're going to get a little interactive. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen of the audience, fellow dais members, let's join humble John Levine, scuba instructor, resort performer, MedMetric salesman extraordinaire, and your newly elected HFMA president in a little dance you may remember from the old days. DJ, kick it. Humble John! Everybody give it up for Humble John! All right, DJ, we're good. Yeah, you can come. In all seriousness, John is one of the kindest, gentlest souls I've ever met. And I'm so proud of him for all of his accomplishments. I count myself among one of the lucky ones to be considered his friend. John, I love you like a brother, but you totally just look like a fool. Thank you, guys.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Jason. You know, before we started the show, John came up to me and he said, Dean, he said, what are the 4 animals that women love in a man? I said, I don't know. They like a mink on their back. They like a jaguar in the garage. They like a tiger in the bed. And a jackass to pay for all the bills. Isn't that right? Got a comedian on that. All right. We got a next roaster. Is it you?
Yeah, but John doesn't know my name anyways.
It's all right. What's your name?
John Wagner.
John Wagner. A big hand for John Wagner.
So you know, usually John's pretty good at manipulating a situation, right? And I was so surprised to find out that we get to do this to him for free. I bet you every one of you would have put down a $100 bill to get up and make fun of him. I mean, shit, I'd pay $1 million to make fun of him. So, but, you know, we get the gift. There you go. So when I first started to think through the roast, I was like, you know, when did I actually really meet John? And I started to reflect on the kind of back memory banks. They don't work well because, well, I spend time with John. And it turns out we met at, of all places, in a conference, right? Now, it gets a little more interesting because it was in a conference in David Wildebrandt's hotel room. And there may have been day drinking involved. So, you know, I should have really recognized at that point that this thing was either going to go really good or really bad.
Bad.
And I'm just not really sure where it's going to end up yet. But it's like 50-50 still. You know, but, you know, the one thing I really do respect about John is you know, he will constantly say that he's not a sales guy, right? He's not a sales guy. So I actually, in prep for this, I went out and Googled attributes of a good salesperson. And he's friggin' right. So, you know, while sales may not be his thing, there are things he does great. You'll have to ask him for those. But you know, considering that we get to work in healthcare together, and thinking about John and how he views himself, you know, I started to think about that adage we've been hearing a lot during COVID, right? Not all heroes wear capes. Oh, that's not you. Now, what if he was a superhero, right? Like, so take a minute, think about what John Levine would be as a superhero, right? Has everybody got it in your mind? So I'm going to tell you what's in John's mind, right? It's like Superman, right, with better chin and more hair, right? That's his view of it. When it's probably would really be like Captain Caveman meets Mr. Stretch, right? You know, it's some awkward, loud thing that bangs around, and he has like a utility belt full of phones in various stages of disrepair, all going off at the same time, hanging up on a consecutive group of people randomly. I mean, you could just kind of, that would be like his utility belt. And if you had other like superhero gifts, right? You know how like Wonder Woman had that lasso of truth, throw it on you, and you couldn't help but not, lie. But I think John has like the cell phone of forgetfulness, right? Like I'll call him, I'll be madder than hell. And by the time we're done with the call, I don't know why I was mad. And I got like 8 things I have to do for him. So his name as a superhero would have to be, right? Captain Voluntold, right? Like, so Captain Voluntold.
I like it.
Like, I'm going to make you do the same things over and over again, and you're going to like it. So his next gift would be his And if you've had any conversation with John where it gets a little tense, and you may not fully agree, at some point he'll look at you and go, and all of a sudden you've lost. Like, I don't even know what it is. Like, he says, and I feel bad. I don't even know what happened. So I'm continuing with the superhero thing, right? So his next superhero superpower would be the HFMA shield of power, right? So whenever he wields this thing, like Captain America's shield, they throw it and they block things with it. The gift with this shield is when he kind of aims it at you, he takes the world's most overworked people and somehow piles more crap on them. Right? And you don't even know why. All of a sudden you're like, Jesus. And he's then all of a sudden, like 20 minutes later, disappointed because you're not done yet. Right? Now, he'll take like 6 weeks to get back to you. But no, it's all right. So, and then I think the last super trait that I was thinking about was that glare of disappointment. That one where you end up apologizing and you didn't do anything wrong. That look? You're like, where did that come from? So that's the combined of Captain Voluntold's superpowers. Right? But seriously, it's not all bad. To be a friend of Captain Voluntold. All you have to do is be willing to give up all your spare time, any time with your family, like that goes right out the window. Really, focusing on your real job is not that important anymore, right? Like, let's be honest, most of the hospitals were only put on this planet for John, right?
Yes.
We don't even know why else they're there, but I'm going to go ahead and conclude because we only have 3 minutes. And I do want to thank.
3 or 30?
Yeah, 30. John does have a big heart and a lot of passion for HFMA, and I know he's going to do fabulous things over this next year with HFMA. Like, I can already see it. Next year, we all get an award. You get an award, you get an award, we all get an award. You know that's happening, right? He's going to expand the board. I bet there's 237 people on the board, one for every hospital, because you know why, right? And then lastly, and I'm going to let this out of the bag, John didn't want me to share it, but next year, very much like what goes on with the Football Hall of Fame, when you get inducted into the Football Hall of Fame, they make a bust of you. Well, John wants us to take that little snapshot picture, an actual oversized bust, and that's going to start to be the new president's present to themselves. So, I see these things are really going to make the organization grow and do great things. So, that's fun. Thank you.
Thank you, John. John's very well known. You've got a couple of Johns, don't you, working free? Very well known. There's a John in every hotel and restaurant around here. And then the next roaster is Roger Carter. Give him a big hand.
Good evening, everybody. So I was going to dress up and try to be like John tonight, run my suit over with my car, take and iron my shirt with a rock. But I actually decided, I'm like, all I got to do is get up here and talk smack about John. I don't have to dress bad to do it. So I've known John now for the better part of about 10 years. And interestingly enough, he had a nickname back then. It was OGG. And you think, OGG, it's got to be something cool, right? Original gangster, maybe? Nah. So, old grumpy grandpa. What that stood for. And you look at that and you're like, wow, he is grumpy. So, you kind of wonder why. Like, man, why is he so grumpy? And you think to yourself, and you're like, I heard a long time ago, John was actually a man trapped in a woman's body. I know, right? Then, I actually heard that he was that way right up until the time he was born. I'll be here all night. All kidding aside, I mean, John's probably one of the hardest workers I know. Guy's always in a different city. Get text messages all the time, emails all the time. I get so many emails from John. I don't read any of them, but I get them. And it's not really the fact that I don't want to read them. They're just all encrypted. Who's going to read an encrypted email these days? I'm thinking PHI. I don't have a BAA agreement with him. Delete. All right, but there are a few that come in. They may not have encryption, like the normal technical version, but they have John encryption. John has his own method of encryption. Have you ever read a 100-word run-on sentence? No commas, no periods. Words smashed together, and a little bit of butt gibberish, just to top off the complexity of this thing. Trust me, bring your A game, because it can take a while to decipher some of these things. Hillary Clinton could actually take some lessons on how to freaking secure some emails. I gotta say though that John is probably one of my best friends in the world, and he's a guy that if you need him, he's always going to be there for you. So I gotta give him a good round of applause for just being a great guy, great friend. But you know what they say about everything before but too. He can say some pretty hateful things sometimes. I don't even know if he knows that he says these things. Some of these guys, I know the similar comments were directed at them a few times as well, but he actually said that I was not that much better than him at golf. I've been playing golf for 25 years, and I spent a lot of time in the sucking zone at golf, like 20 years of the 25, and I don't want to go back. And so I don't want to be in that category. John. I personally, I think he can count. No, I don't.
I actually think it's more of a problem with, I don't think he's ever taken a real score on 18 holes, ever. We just give him what we give him. And I think he thinks that that's what he really shot. I mean, he's got duffs, chunks, wood balls, water balls, and a lot of foot wedges to get done with a hole. I mean, I don't think anybody can count that high. So, it's a challenge. But anyway, thank you everybody. I think, we're in good hands this year with John. I think he's so dedicated to HFMA that I know we're going to have a great year, and he's going to help lead us into a whole nother, generation of hopefully new HFMA members, new things that we're going to try to do, and I look forward to being a part of it. So, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Roger. And now we got another John Mendez. Come on up. And he's looking at his notes. Come on there, bud. How you doing? Good. All right. You ready to go?
Oh, sure.
All right.
I'll never forget the first time that I met John, but I keep trying. It's all about balance. He starts talking, I stop listening. Somebody call you John a smartass, others a dumbass, I just call you an ass. Thank you. And everybody knows that someday John will go far, and we really hope he stays there. And just so you know that you bring everyone so much joy, when you leave the room. The real heroes are the ones that I want to thank. Those of us that will have to be on the board with John for the next year. Now, I do have a picture. Do we have that? So somebody once asked me to describe John. I said, he's the love child of When Love Blooms, B. Arthur and Krusty the Clown. All right, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, John. Now we have Cheryl Spanier, right? All right. Give her a big hand. Come on. You look like you're out of the Laughing Show. You look
I
great.
thought I was going to Vegas for a disco, but
Absolutely.
that's not happening.
Absolutely.
So mine is just a story about John, because I know everybody has had at least one incident with John. And what is the money for? Oh. So, I've known John for probably 10 or 11 years. The first time that I met John, we were at Delray Conference, and we were getting ready. We were all in a huddle talking about South Region education, and John gets up. First time I ever met him. And I'm from Pennsylvania. Obviously, he's from New York at that point. And he gets up and he says, I gotta go walk the dog. So where I come from, if you're gonna go walk the dog, you gotta go to the bathroom. And I thought, how freaking rude is this man? I can't even believe he just got up in the middle of our conversation and left, like mid-sentence left. Not 5 minutes later, and of course, if you've not met me, I am going to tell everybody exactly what I think. I was like, are you freaking? Who is this guy? Not 5 minutes later, John walks down through the lobby and out the front door with the damn dog. He really did go walk his dog. So that was the first apology, not the last apology that I have made to John. So my second story is Huntsville, Alabama. I had some foundation tickets to an event, and I invited my friend John, and we fly together, we get a car, we go to the hotel, into our respective rooms. He calls me on the phone, he's like, you're not gonna believe this. And I said, what? What's going on? He goes, I forgot my underwear. Okay, I love you, but I don't need to hear this right now. So because he's like my brother, I said, you know what, we passed a Ross on the way in, and I'll drive you to Ross and we can get some underwear. Okay, cool. So we get in the car, we go to Ross, and I said, John, they're over there. That's the men's section. I'm gonna be over here. I don't wanna know what underwear you have. I don't wanna see them. That's like a vision that will never go away. So John goes over, and if you have known John for long, he's got the attention span of a gnat. He walks over, he comes back, there are no men's underwear. So I go over and I show him, John, here are your underwear, right here. Just pick it. I'll be over here. So we do the foundation, we do the event, everything's fine and wonderful. The next morning I said, John, be down in the car. I am leaving at 5:30 a.m. Be in the car. Now, 5:30 a.m. to me means like 5:10, 5:15. So I'm in the car, everything's loaded, and I pull up and I'm underneath, right in front of the door, and I text John. I said, John, where are you? He goes, you said 5:30, it's 5:10. I said, all right, well, I'm here when you're ready. So because I was in the front door, when he came out, he was not happy with me because I was pushy. I woke him up, he was a little grouchy, right? Yes. So he throws his luggage into the back, and he slams the trunk of the car, and he opens the door really hard, and he climbs in, and when he climbs in, the whole ass of his pants rips all the way up the back. And we went through 2 airports that day with his new underwear hanging out. That's all I got.
Thanks, Cheryl. You left by a very important thing, though. He was wearing a thong. We won't talk about that. Anyway, here we got another roaster. David Wildebrands. David, how are you? I like your tie. All right.
Hey, I did notice that everyone immediately put their fork down when she brought up John's underpants. Oh, hey, Miss Levine, it's good to see you. I didn't recognize you with your clothes on. I know I'm never going to be allowed back up here anyways. Hey, I will tell you, as a fellow low self-esteemer like John, there's 2 things I would never do. Invite people to roast me, and especially when I'm be Carol Plato. But let me clear something up though. I think there's a lot of confusion, like, what's John doing? Like, this is very atypical. Let's don't break the hierarchy of HFMA and how we normally induct the presidents. He'd have a choice. He tried to get people to come up and compliment him. There were 0 response. As you can see, there's no standing room up here for people that want to roast John. All right, so I'm going to give you a couple themes. And one of them is a story, and I promise you this is a true story. You're not going to believe it, but it really happened. Okay? Here's the first thing. You ever just watch something and you go, that just happened? Have you ever did that, had that feeling? So one of my first meetings with John, like a real meeting, after, many of the, hey Dave, John, I'm trying to pee. Hey Dave, can you come talk to me? Everything's so intense. So me and my revenue cycle director take him out to eat at Lisa's favorite place, the Dragonfly. Well, raise your hand if you've ever had edamame. First time I ever told this story, so a lot of people here. You understand how you eat edamame?
Yes.
So me and my revenue cycle person sitting over there, John starts off eating edamame, and guess what? He doesn't know how. He is eating the entire thing. You ever just try that for, I don't know why you would, but any weirdos like me out there? So we're sitting there, and I tell the person, don't say anything. And don't eat one. Because if he sees us eat them correctly, then he's going to be embarrassed the rest of his life. Got to deal with his drama and everything else. So we did it. And I just wondered, John, for years we thought about when did you finally learn how to eat edamame? But I will tell you what, he worked his way through 2 of them, and we hired him because, damn, that was perseverance. Another saying, and Roger alluded to this, and unfortunately this is true in life. Remember this saying, it can never be so bad that it can't get worse. John playing golf. I swear to God this happened on the tee box. John hit the ball backwards. I mean, no physics, it really did happen at the St. Augustine tournament warming up. And he's my partner, and I'm going, yes. Okay, and if those of you know that John's a slave to fashion, not. So there's a saying, just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? So, John is worse than Oprah Winfrey on fluctuating weight. I mean, well, you're down 50 today, right? So the problem is he doesn't change his attire. So he's on the upswing. John has introduced something called the schmedium. Y'all know what the schmedium is? Which is 2 levels below where that silky golf shirt should be. And that's John. So I always tell you, and I don't know if it was you, whoever, John's role models, whoever told John, just be yourself, that was some bad advice. Now John's, at least others will laugh. I can be very verbose and talk over people, but there's always, it's like saying there's always somebody worse. I'll say, I'm sorry, John. I didn't mean from the middle of my sentence to interrupt the beginning of yours. So, but here's the good thing about HFMA and John's coming into president. It's true. If you set the bar so low, everyone can be exceptional. John Levine.
Thank you, David. Wow. Walk right in and scare the shadows away. You get your drinks? All right. A big hand, please, for Carol Polito. Are you ready, baby? Oh boy, here we go.
So we're sharing John's stories tonight, and as John Wagner said, John Levine is a superhero, and I have some stories to prove it. One time, John and I were on an HFMA Bahamas cruise. We were off the boat, walking around, and a car passes by. The side of the car hits John as it passes by, pushes John into me. The car didn't stop. I looked at John and said, "Did that car just hit you?" He replied, "Yeah, but I'm okay." That was when I had learned that John was a man of steel. There was this conference in New Orleans at the Sheraton. I hate the Sheraton. And my dear friend Candy Abbott was there and was sitting with John in that bar that's in the main lobby. When Candy realizes she doesn't have her billfold. Someone had stolen it or had pickpocketed her purse. She panicked. John and his superpowers did not skip a beat. He opened his wallet and handed Candy a credit card telling her to use it whenever she needed to and not worry about a thing. John is a man of steel with a heart like butter. Do you remember the conference where Emmett Smith was our keynote speaker? Yes. It was a fun event, and the conference party was very close to the hotel bar. John and I appreciated that because there was hockey playoffs on TV. So we hung out at the party and occasionally went to the bar where my beloved Boston Bruins were playing. About the third time returning to the TV, someone yelled my name and slurred some vulgarity. I thought it was someone trying to be funny and razzing us about going back and forth. All of a sudden, I realized that John was having words other end of the bar where Emmett Smith was. But now they were coming this way. John and the other guy were drawing the crowd's attention. As I stepped back to figure out what was going on, I realized the man of steel with the heart of butter was defending my honor. I heard John say, true story, "If I put you down, you're not getting up." I'm like, what? I just stood there with my superhero. The other guy's boss grabbed him and took him away.
Forever.
Anyway, John, the next year will not be easy. It will take a lot of time and hard work. But when you get tired, please wear this and your superpowers will magically return because you are a man of steel with a heart of butter.
Humility.
Thank you, Carol. Next speaker here, please give a warm welcome, won't you please? For we got Phil Manel. Hey, Phil. I like your jacket, man.
Thank you.
Get that on the golf course?
No. Let's talk about the golf course in a minute, though. Everyone having fun yet? Yeah. John asked for all his closest friends to be here, but he got the rest of us instead. As if John needed another reason to talk about himself. He's president now, right? Yeah. Seriously, this has got to be hard for John. He's not used to being able not to talk about himself in particular. So John told the story earlier at lunch. He got it wrong on how this all started. It was at LTC, I don't know, a few years ago, 3-4 years ago or so. And we were talking about ideas for sessions and what would be really popular, particularly provider panel sessions. And I said, man, what if we did a provider panel on what it's like to deal with John Levine? So it's nice to have a bunch of providers up here talking about it, because we know it's gonna be rough. I mean, John gets his business by just wearing providers down until they give up and they tap out. They're like, okay, John, you have the business, just please stop calling me, right? I hope taking John's shoes off earlier didn't turn anyone off their meal. I told Justin it was a bad idea, but if that didn't do it, the visual of John in a thong probably did. Or the medium clothing that David was talking about earlier. John's worn tighter clothing to this conference than college girls going to Miami at nightclubs have. You know, this is the first conference that Judy, John's mom, has been to because none of his clothes have been wrinkled. Seriously, you look sharp tonight, though. That's quite amazing. Okay, we'll give her that. I actually met Judy a few years ago after diving with John down in Boca in South Florida. And I got to visit her beautiful apartment in South Florida. And I realized that John doesn't know how to do anything by himself. We got there and a meal was ready for John. She was worried about us, having been in the water too long because there was algae coming out of Lake Okeechobee or something. So she insisted that, we take showers before we left. She didn't want us to get, I was like, wow, she takes really, really good care of John. I'm like, how did John turn into this? With clearly the most amazing mother possible in the world. Unbelievable. Let's give her a hand. So I wanted to roast a few of the roasters tonight. John, I got a bone to pick with you because you really messed up my roast. Because the first line was, we know it's important if John, PF, and Mendez showed up on time, but of course he was late. Who knew Jason Driscoll could look this good? Sharp looking crowd all around. For someone who is usually very colorfully dressed, I think Carol Plato dressed the most appropriate for John's funeral tonight. In very drastic contrast. Cheryl showed up to roast Austin Powers tonight. I don't know where Anthony Escobia went. I was going to make fun of his pink drink for the second time tonight, but he left. I don't know. He's like not ready to roast John like this at this point. Yep, okay. Roger Carter, what can I say about you? John Levine can have a meltdown in person faster than Roger Carter can have a meltdown on the golf course. This roast is so important, we had Elvis Presley show up. Round of applause for that. Speaking of Carol Plato, I think one of my first experiences with John and a provider was at an AHAM conference, I don't know, probably 10 years ago. How long has it been? Probably 7 years ago? Probably 7. We'll say 7. And John brought his bulldog Lucy to the conference. And Lulu. And we were talking to Carol, and John says, Carol, you gotta come meet my dog. So we go into this room that had been closed off for like an hour. And Lulu was in this room. And brings Carol in. Carol's, what a beautiful dog, how sweet. And Lulu just sits there and throws up all over Carol's shoes. The fact that Carol's standing on this stage is amazing. Lulu had eaten every piece of food that was left in this room, donuts, and if it was from breakfast. Oh, poor thing, it was so sick. So, I mean, these are the kind of stories that John has somehow surpassed and that he still has friends. I don't know how he does it. It still did business with him. You might have heard Jose yell about, John paying bills earlier. There's a great story. We were at Tampa Renaissance. We had an after party at Blue Martini. And John and I came up with this great idea for VIP at Blue Martini. We're going to split the bill, no problem. We have an amazing night. Everything's great. All of a sudden, time to pay the bill. John is nowhere to be seen. I'm like, how am I going to explain to my company I have a full VIP tab at Blue Martini with bottle service? That's not going to go well. Thankfully, Jose picked it up. But these two bicker more than a married couple. I mean, one's cheaper than the other. We still don't know who. They always fight about it. It's great. And there's another story coming up with Jose a little bit later. But John's a good friend. We've been through some amazing experiences together. You know that we've stayed friends if I've made it through like 5 days on a boat with no cell service in the middle of nowhere with John diving. Again, the fact that I'm here is probably a miracle. One of us should have been thrown overboard at some point. On the first time we went diving, there's a couple diving stories here. The first time we went diving, I was coming up from our first dive. It was a pretty rough dive day. And all of a sudden the water got really cloudy as I was coming up on my emergency stop. I don't know if you guys know diving, you gotta take a stop below the surface, about 15, 20 feet below. Now, as I was coming up from that, the water got really murky. I was like, this is super strange. It looks like I'm swimming through a bowl of like matzo ball soup. I mean, there was chunks everywhere. All of a sudden I realized John had been sick when he got to the surface. It was right. Absolutely, it was a rough day. I'm scarred, I have nightmares about it. We went from that to our last dive trip in August where we spent 5 days on a boat together. I actually witnessed John commit like a very serious murder of a barracuda. A lot of anger that came out. That was the first time I was ever scared of John. Carol told the story about him backing someone down in a bar. Carol, I was standing behind him. I hope you know that. That was the only reason I got So Roger talked about John on the golf course earlier. He thinks that we're the same at golf as well, which means he doesn't understand the difference in 30 strokes. So I'm sorry about that, ladies. He scores his golf a lot like Kim Jong-un. Relevant because he's president now. I lost a couple more things, almost done. I lost a girlfriend once because she thought I was having an affair with a woman. I put in my phone as John, this is a true story, as John Levine because he calls and texts me so much. John's a lot like having a girlfriend. Because you go to a restaurant and order a salad and then he'll eat all your fries. Or as John Wagner said, the glare of disappointment. Like he's regularly disappointed in you. So there's that. So I talked about a Jose story. A few years ago we were in Atlanta. And I got there, John and I were staying in the Marriott. Jose was staying in the Hilton. So John and I had dinner. This is where John actually, this is a true story. He ordered salad, I ordered steak and fries. He ate every single one of my fries. I looked at him, I was like, what are you doing? So that night, I was really upset about it. That night, we got into a fight about who was fatter. It was Jose John, Brad, and I, and for like a 30-minute cab ride, we were talking about who was the fattest. And I was like, I can't believe I'm in this category somehow. I didn't eat any of my own fries. Then John went and did this rabbit diet for a few years and lost all this weight, so he left the rest of us in the lurch. Jose took credit and said he would take the cake for being the fattest at the moment. I don't know. There's probably an argument to be made for the rest of us. But that same night, John ordered an Uber. Yeah, I'm gonna tell a story. So we talked about John splitting his pants. I'll be fair, I'll roast myself for a little second. Jose likes to call it the Juber, as a special app John has. I'm telling you, a clown car pulled up. It's not much bigger than this table. And the driver had a seat all the way back. John immediately hops in the passenger seat. I say, John, I'm a little bit taller, can I get in that seat? I'm not gonna fit on the other side. Didn't close the door before I could even finish my sentence. So I had to walk into the other side and lift a leg, stick it like across, and then drop into a full squat. Next thing I know, I split my pants. Seam to seam. Not a small split, seam to seam. And I had only brought one suit for the next day. It was a one-day event in Atlanta. And so I had to, go out the rest of the night that way. And then the next day, there was, of course, a comedian at the lunch that Jose had at George A&M. And in the middle of this lunch, he walks up, he's like, oh, this guy really took casual Friday the next step. So I'm wearing jeans with my suit jacket. I was like, oh, great. And of course, John's like, hey, ask him how it happened, and everybody involved. I'm like, thanks, John. Thank you a lot for that. So that was a fun story. But speaking of Donald Trump, as Justin said earlier, who isn't John friends with? Have you ever mentioned someone and just like, oh, I'm great friends with him. I know that guy. I know that guy really well. Yeah, my best friend. Like, yeah, known him forever, right? We all got those stories. He also thinks the best of everything. Golf, being president probably, But in all seriousness, John's one of my closest friends. I'm proud of you. I love you. You're being a good sport tonight, and thanks for having me here, guys.
All right. You forgot your... Hey, I'm going to shake your hand. Come on up here. A big hand for Vince Vaughn. Boy, I love your movies, man. You're looking great, Vince. All right. How about a big hand now for Anthony? Yeah. Anthony Escobillo, right? All right. You notice he got up and he had to go pee, but he's back.
Hey, I saw Phil going up. I knew I had plenty of time. Is Dr. McNair from MedMetrics, she did a great job today. Anybody see that presentation? Is she here? Dr. McNair? Damn, she's not here. I caught John sleeping during her presentation. I took my picture, I got witnesses. I took my phone out to take a picture, and then somebody opened the door right behind John and startled him awake, and he immediately got up and walked away. That close, buddy. That close. So, it is great that John's going to be the president of HFMA, but I've given some thought. What kind of president is John going to be? Those of us who know John know that Florida HFMA will never be the same. John is going to make a lot of changes, guys. For no other reason than for 5 years from now, he's going to say, hey guys, remember when they used to do the blue tickets at the raffle and now they're always green? He's going to make changes for the sake of making changes so that he can take credit for it 5 years from now. Has anybody ever been to a dinner with John Levine? Anybody? Okay. So then you know he makes reservations for 12 and shows up with 20. And I told my son this one day, I said, watch this. We've got double the people that he's put on the reservation. Watch the magic happen. John goes up to the hostess stand, and we're watching him from the back, and we see this. I need to talk to the general manager. People are coming out of the kitchen. Said, John, we're eating here, dude. You're causing a stink. We're going to have spit in our food. What are you doing? He's done this at least 5 times that I can recall. Unbelievable. But we all get seated. We haven't tasted it. There's a little grit sometimes in the food. You notice a little grit? Here's the other thing about John. those of you who know him really well know, John is cliquey as hell. Man, is he cliquey, right? So John, hey John, I went out to dinner with some other guys. Do you think it's okay if I bring them to the party that you're throwing tonight? Who is it? Well, it's Steve and Phil from wherever, AR. Oh, well, you know, Bob's here. I think they're bidding on a deal at Halifax to get, you know, they're competing. It might not be a good idea, Anthony. You might want to tell them to stay back. Then I show up to the party. Everybody's just walking in the damn party. I'm like, John, what the hell? I told these guys they couldn't come. John will argue for the sake of arguing. We go fishing the other day. Like, man, what a beautiful blue sky, John. Well, you know, it's not always blue, Anthony. It's kind of pink in the morning. It's orange in the afternoon. You know, everybody says the sky's blue. It's not always blue.
Yeah.
I promised John I would never retell this story. And you guys this is a special event, so I figured I had to tell this. We're at lunch one day, downtown Tampa, walking down the sidewalk, and we're going back to the car or to the restaurant, I can't remember. There's like a little brown bird that had fallen out of a nest. And it's like half alive. There's ants like all over it, kind of eating it. And I stood there and I said, oh, look at that bird. We get in the car and I look over at John. He's got like a tear coming down his eye. Like, John, what the hell's wrong? He's like, man, that bird, bro. The bird, he was, did you see him? He never had a chance. It's not even a true story. John was supposed to get up out of this chair and ride my ass for telling a lie. That was a lie. You okay? Yeah, John's like, I don't remember this story. You know what it was? John was going to wait till after this and say, where did that happen? No, but John, we all appreciate everything that you're going to do for the chapter. He does really enjoy all of this stuff. He's going to help the chapter quite a bit. And thank you, John. You're doing a good job.
Wonderful. Thank you, Anthony. We have a beautiful lady here coming up. I wanted to make sure I could say her name properly. She says, I might need a stool, but I think we'll be fine. Please give a warm welcome. A warm welcome, please. I see polka dots here. Please give a warm welcome to Jennifer A. Grant. Right?
Got it.
She told me, so I'm thinking the fonts. A.
Hey, friend.
Give her a big hand. There you go.
So I'm not part of this organization, and Jonathan just asked me to do a roast since I've known him his entire life. So, wait, why are we here? What is this? The H what? HFMA. HFMA? And just so I want to understand, so you guys voted for him to be president? Now, was it a vote? Was it a nomination? Like, how'd this go down? I'm a little confused.
He's a dictator.
Dictator, got it. Now that makes more sense. Okay, thank you. So anyway, my name is Jennifer. I have known Jonathan his entire life because I grew up 2 doors from him in New York, Long Island, in Dix Hills on Bonaire Drive. Seriously. And so Jonathan was the brother from another mother, or the brother I never wanted, but we basically grew up together. He's 2 years younger than me. And picture Jonathan at 2 years old. He was a little chunky boy with chubby cheeks, blonde hair, and a bowl haircut. You know, it's 1970s. What's that?
He's looking at me go, blonde?
Very blonde, like white blonde. Like he was like seriously blonde. From Judy. Look at Judy's hair. She's blonde.
That's not real.
So his brother Peter 4, he's 2. We're like, all right, we're gonna take advantage of Jonathan because we can. So we used to go to Jonathan's house, his home, and we used to say, hey John, we have all these nickels and you have all these dimes. Listen, we'll exchange. The nickels are much, much bigger. Don't you want the nickels? So we used to just go to his house, like every time he had money in our piggy bank, we would go exchange with Jonathan to make money. So yes, it is true, he's always been this way.
It all makes sense.
All makes sense now. So Jonathan always loved to come to my house. He went to my house, his brother went to my house, his dog went to his house. Anytime they got out, they came to our house. I'm not sure what was going on at home. But Jonathan was really, imagine this, he was actually tiny at the time and couldn't reach the doorbell. So he used to bang, bang, bang on the door, just booming, 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 until he finally opened the door. So he got the nickname Boom Boom Jonathan. So he was Boom Boom Jonathan pretty much even till now. And of course, Peter and I used to make fun of him also being the chubby 2-year-old. We used to also call him Jonathan. That's not very nice, I know. You told me to roast. You told me to roast. So when I was like 4 and he was 2, I used to take Jonathan on these adventures, having absolutely no idea where I was going. I just thought it'd be fun. I was like Lucy and he was like Charlie Brown. And he just said, okay, whatever you want to do, Jen, sure. I was in charge. So I just would go on random walks and my parents would get phone calls from the neighborhood next door saying, you have your children, do you know they're missing? So I took Jonathan on lots of adventures. But when Jonathan used to come to our house, he wouldn't often even tell us that he was there. He would just come into our house, lay on the couch, and fall asleep. And then we would just walk into the family room, and there was Jonathan sleeping on the couch. But he wasn't just sleeping. He would be sleeping with his eyes open. And how freaky is that?
He still does that.
Apparently still does it. A little scary. So, many years later, Jonathan and we grew up. He moved to Florida. I was in New York. And Jonathan, being a traveling salesman, used to often stay at my place in New York City. And at this time I had a son who was maybe around 6 months old or so. We had a 2-bedroom apartment. And Jonathan actually babysat me one night because we had plans. He came unexpectedly. All good. He's going to babysit Brandon because he goes to bed by 7:30 anyway. It's easy. So Jonathan's watching one of World Series baseball games. And surprisingly, Brandon woke up. And Jonathan had absolutely no idea what to do with this child. So he picks him up. He's like, okay, he'll sit next to me. He starts crying. He's like, stop crying. And Brandon's like, okay. I think he was petrified of Jonathan. And so he's like, all right, listen, you can chill here. Just don't say a word while I watch the game. And he sat there for an hour or 2 until he finally said, I'm tired. And he went to bed. And Jonathan was like, yeah, see, I can do this. I'm awesome. And then the next morning, Jonathan's sleeping on the couch, which pulls out, and my husband and I are in the bedroom. The next morning, my husband's like, okay, you know what? I have to get up really, really early. I want to do my morning routine. Jonathan, hop out of bed and go sleep with Jen. And he's like, okay. So next thing you know, Jonathan's in bed with me. We're spooning. We're having a good time. We're cuddling. And Steven walks in and he goes, why do I not have an issue with this? So I slept with Jonathan. And every time Jonathan took my kids on an adventure, on a car ride, doing something, Jonathan's known for getting lost. And I think he had GPS. Didn't really matter. He still got lost. 2 hours later, he'd always show up for a 15-minute ride. And not only was he always getting lost, but he would run out of gas. We had to save him a few times. He'd fight with the nannies. Jonathan had his way of doing things. But the biggest thing about Jonathan, even though I'm roasting him, I'm also toasting as well. I love Jonathan more than anything, and he has the biggest heart and the biggest laughter, and whenever you want to look for Jonathan, all you have to do is hear his laugh, and you will find him. Thank you.
Wonderful. Would like to have this microphone up here. We'll make sure that it's on. Kim, there we go. Kim Bonzak? Bonzak. No, I said it right. And then to say hello to you in your own native tongue, 안녕하세요. Thank you. All right, give her a big hand. Give a big hand for Kim. All right, there we go. It's all you.
Right. Okay. Gosh, I always found my voice to be so sexy on a microphone. I'm gonna just love this. They say the best for last or the worst for last. I don't know what you want to call it, but I want to start off with telling you a little bit about me. For those of you who don't know me, shush. I'm Kim Bonzak. Yes, I have 2 kids, lovely kids. One 14. No. Shh. One 14-year-old and one 19-year-old. My 19-year-old Emily is gonna kill me for sharing this story with you. So she nursed till she was almost 2 years old. And she called her source of food her Mimi's. So speaking of Mimi's, I'm here to roast John. Me. Okay? All about me, right? So I don't know which one of you guys talked about eating dinner with John, but have any of you eaten breakfast with John? Jude, are you here by any chance? Okay, so I actually have a story, but Jude, do you have anything to share with us about your breakfast experience with John?
Well, first, tell him I like some bacon. She never makes bacon with me when we wake up. And I feel like every time we go to dinner, I have to pick up the bill and Mr. John's like, look, what? I don't know.
Well, I actually love how John orders, I'll have egg whites, please. And I'll have almond milk with my coffee, but I'll take 4 slabs of bacon and I'll take potatoes with extra butter and all that stuff. I just found that kind of funny. Anyway, John, you know I love you. I guess that too. So I actually don't have much to say other than I have been friends with John for years and years and years. We're like brothers and sisters. We fight a lot, we get along great. He's been the biggest supporter of mine forever. I hope to have been the same for you. But when we started off being friends, we used to just hang out for maybe a week and a half at a time. And over time, maybe that week and a half turned into 3 days. And then over time, that 3 days turned into maybe a day. Well, similar to my limit on this podium, 3 minutes, that's literally how much I can tolerate him at this point. I love you, John. We all love you. And I am so happy you're all here to celebrate him with me. Thank you all.
Before, I forgot
That's
something really
excellent.
important. Sorry, I'm gonna jump up for 2 seconds.
No.
Fonz, give me a second here. Hey.
It's away, Vince.
Hey.
You take it away.
So can we get the AV real quick to throw up the many looks of John Levine? It's John Levine's O-face. I know you guys want to see that. That's, I don't know, confused John, happy John, I don't know. Which one of those is? Good looking John. Drew. I can't take credit for this one. Jose gave him this nickname a long time ago. Tell me, Drew. Back? Everybody knows that look. Foot out, right? Hey, we gotta talk. And then finally the Sopranos look, which is a new one for him. I hadn't seen this before. That was it. I think that was it. Might be one more? No, that was the last one, I think.
What a wonderful night. Shows a lot of love from all of these people up here for John. And now, without further ado, we're going to give you the man of the hour, Mr. John Levine.
much, everyone. You know, it's great. Kim mentioned how I eat breakfast. Here's perfect about Kim. Kim, you hungry? No, I just ate. She sits down and she goes, oh, I'm not that hungry. Okay, I have this, but I'm not that hungry. Let me go get a little this. Fine. It's all funny. It's all funny. He goes, my golf game? I'm not good at golf. I never say I am. But Phil, the other day, have you ever heard me ever once say I'm good at golf?
Roger, help me out here.
You said, word for word, you are not that much better than me, Roger.
5 years ago, when I was taking lessons. I don't try. But Phil, we're playing golf last week. I sucked. I will admit it. I was terrible. It was bad. Phil bought 10,000 mulligans, finally hits the ball, wins the best drive after the 10,000 shot. It's true sauce.
John on the first tee, Roger goes, 20 bucks, he hits it in the water. I said, Roger, he's not going to make it as far as the water. The water's 30 yards in front of us. I said, he says, I'll take that bet. I said, deal. John hit it 5 feet. 5 feet. It's one of the many $20 bets I've won with Roger. Your turn, John.
5,000 shots. Phil goes, I'm hitting the ball further than you. Hits it on the other course. Wasn't further than me. I hit it straight down.
5 feet.
10 feet. Who cares?
He's arguing you should not be allowed to have a gun.
Yes. I think so too. Thank you, everyone. We're going to go ahead and do a little raffle or auction for Redefining Refuge. Who's the,
We're going to do the auction now. Okay? And then John spared no expense to bring us in from Las Vegas. So don't go away. We have a very special show for you tonight. And you'll be very happy who came in. Right, John? All right, a big hand for Mr. John Levine and all the roasters. Wow! Thank you, Vince Vaughn. Thank you. All right.
Okay, that's good.
On for the show.